welcome back to Rewind and Learn, your GCSE RE revision boost, where we take difficult ideas and make them manageable, meaningful and exam ready. Today's topic is the Catholic response to suffering. Now, suffering is something that everyone experiences, yet it raises some of the hardest questions about God. Why does suffering exist? Does God even care? And how should believers respond when they or others suffer? Now, Catholic teaching does not give simple or easy answers, but it provides a thoughtful and compassionate response. So let's rewind and explore it. Firstly, Catholics approach suffering with ambivalence, which means mixed feelings. On the one hand, the Catholic Church teaches that suffering is real and painful. People in need should be helped, and suffering should be reduced wherever possible. This is why Catholics support charities, campaign for social justice, and provide healthcare, hospices and aid. Suffering's never ignored or dismissed. However, at the same time, Catholic teaching recognises that suffering can have meaning, even if it's never pleasant or desired, and this balance is crucial. Catholics do not glorify suffering, but they do believe it can be purposeful. And of course, one way we see purposeful suffering is through Jesus. Catholic responses to suffering are firmly rooted in Jesus' teachings. In the Beatitudes, Jesus says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." Now this shows that God is close to those who suffer. Suffering is not unnoticed, and comfort may not always come immediately, but it is promised. Jesus also teaches that suffering in this life does not have the final word. Those who suffer in this life will be at peace in the next. Catholics believe that those who endure hardship may find justice, healing, fulfilment in the life to come. And perhaps the most important Catholic response to suffering is Jesus himself. Christians believe God did not remain distant from pain. Instead, God entered into suffering through Jesus. Jesus experiences emotional anguish in the Garden of Gethsemane, physical pain in crucifixion, fear, rejection, loneliness, death. In Luke's Gospel, we're told in his anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood. Now this shows Jesus understands human fear and distress, and Catholics believe this transforms suffering. God understands pain from within. Humans are not alone in suffering, and suffering becomes something that can be shared with Christ. Now, Catholics often refer to something known as the suffering servant. It's from the prophet Isaiah in the Old Testament, which describes a mysterious suffering servant. In it, it says he was wounded for our transgressions. By his bruises we are healed. Christians interpret this passage as pointing towards Jesus. Key ideas are the servant suffers innocently. He does not retaliate. It says he was led to the slaughter like a lamb, but his suffering leads to the healing of others. And this reinforces the Catholic belief suffering can be redemptive, meaningful, and transformative. Jesus becomes the model for how to endure suffering without hatred, bitterness, or revenge. Now, Catholic teaching connects suffering closely to free will. God allows humans freedom, so love can be genuine, goodness is freely chosen, and moral responsibility exists. But as a result, humans can choose evil, and this can cause suffering for themselves or others. But without suffering, compassion would have no meaning, forgiveness would not be needed, and acts of agape could not exist. And the Greek word agape refers to selfless, sacrificial love. Catholics believe suffering calls people to show this, caring for the sick, supporting the grieving. Jesus' life and death is the ultimate form of agape, willingly suffering for the good of others. So let's bring everything together. Catholics believe that suffering should be reduced wherever possible. God's compassionate and close to those who suffer. Jesus' suffering gives suffering meaning. Suffering leads us to compassion, love, and moral growth. Humans are called to respond with agape, not indifference. And the Catholic response to suffering is not about easy answers. It's about hope, meaning, and action. And that's the Catholic response to suffering. Fully developed, deeply human, and completely exam ready.